This fish is half the price of red snapper, but just as good. What's up, y'all? I'm Reed the Fishmonger, and I'm coming at you with another highly underrated fish. This is the pink porgy. It's also known as rose porgy or red porgy, and if it looks familiar to you, even though you're not in Florida, it might be because this fish in European countries is also called brim, and it looks very similar to a species found in Australia and New Zealand, and I believe they call those snapper. We're gonna take the skin off the fillets, but we're gonna eat the collars, so I'm gonna take the scales off of just the collars, because on these porgies, the scales are flaky, just like snapper, and when you cook the collars, you really want the scales off, otherwise they'll flake up and make a mess. All right, now that we got the scales off, we're gonna get them filleted up. We're gonna pick up the pectoral fin, puncture right underneath, slide out right underneath that pelvic bone. Then we're gonna come around, come behind the head at an angle, making sure you don't lose any of that meat behind the head. Now we're gonna twist our knife around and slide down just a tip all the way down on top of that dorsal fin. Flip our knife around, rest our knife right on the skeleton and pull towards the head. These fish are a soft texture fish like a yellowtail snapper, so you wanna make sure you don't handle them a lot. These fish eat snails, crabs, and sea urchin, so just wait until you see how beautiful white the meat is. Use the tip of the knife to go to the top of that spine. Again, that way, there's no tear in the meat as we lift on it. Now, we're gonna put the tip of our knife at the base of the ribs, angle your knife slightly up. Make sure your knife is not levitating like that, but pushing on the spine like this. And we separated the connection the pin bones make to the ribs. Now we can use the tip of our knife to go on the other side of the spine and lift slightly more without tearing any of the meat and slide down. One more of those and we'll have the second side separated. Now we're going to rest our knife right on top of those exposed rib bones and start sliding down. Once we go to the bottom of the ribs, we can cut a little deeper, just like that. And a little flick, and look at that. You've got a gorgeous pink porgy fillet. Look how translucent that meat is. This fish is gonna be absolutely phenomenal. All right, we're gonna flip it over and cut the other side. Same deal. And what's crazy about these pink porgy is their market value used to be so low that commercial fishermen wouldn't even target them. There was a restaurant that used to pay my dad, who's a commercial grouper snapper fisherman, the price of snapper just to get him to target it. The chef preferred pink porgy over snapper, so the market value on pink porgy was really low. Because of that, he couldn't get any into his restaurant, so he reached out to a local commercial fisherman, my dad, and offered him snapper price just to target the fish. And there's your beautiful pink porgy skeleton. We went over the ribs, so there's no rib bones right in this section, but we're gonna trim this out a little bit, make it look pretty. There we go. We'll do the same thing to the other fillet. Shave that membrane, sliding your knife right underneath like so. And now we've got absolutely perfect fillets, super soft textured fish with no tears in the meat because you filleted it just like I taught you. Up next, we're gonna take out those collars. I'll show you guys the easiest way to do it. We're gonna open its face up, exposing those gills, puncture a knife right underneath the membrane of those gills, come right under the chin, give it a little flick like that. Open up the gills again, puncture that membrane, slide right underneath the throat. On bigger fish, we'll slide our knife underneath this floating bone right here. But on smaller fish like this, usually you can just force them right out just like that. And because we already got the scales off, all we need is a little bit of seasoning and a deep fry. These fish do have cheeks, but they are small, they are good. What I often do is I'll just get the cheek meat out when I'm cooking down the whole head. That way I make sure that I get every drop, and because they're small, you really don't get a good serving piece out of it. But I'll show you guys what it looks like anyway. And look at that cute little cheek. It's gonna be absolutely delicious, but you're gonna need an absolute truckload for a meal. When markets like ours highlight lower market value fish, like the pink porgy, it helps the local commercial fishermen get more money for their catch. Our customers are still getting a bargain even if the price increases a lot, and it helps out our local commercial fishermen greatly. So skinning, we're gonna wanna get a good grip on the skin, have your knife angled pretty hard down. Give it a nice little sawing motion. Once you're in there, you can flatten your knife out more. we're not going to just grip the skin and push forward. We're going to have our knife almost flat, very gentle sloping angle down as we give it a sawing motion. That sawing motion is going to make sure nice and smooth to make sure we don't create separation in this delicate fish. I know it looks a lot cooler to just rip right through it, but look how there's no tearing in this meat. That is exactly what we want. And because we had our knife flat, all that red that would have been on the bottom of the fillet, check this out. All of this red would have been right here. So we took that off as well, which is just gonna help highlight how clean and sweet this meat is from its sea urchin, crab, and snail diet. I mean, doesn't that sound good to you? We're gonna find the last pin bone with our finger. It goes down a little further than a snapper does. Take the tip of our knife and puncture just past that last pin bone and slide all the way forward. Now, again, last pin bone, just past it. We're gonna meet that spot at a point and slide all the way forward. That's called a V-cut. And now we can just slide this right out just like that. Super thin, so that way you lost none of the meat, you just got rid of the bones. Now this is just as good, if not better, than any snapper you've ever had. If you haven't tried it, you should. Have a killer day.